So, what can we do to tackle the climate and biodiversity crisis? We must use our leadership skills to inspire those around us, including our friends, teachers, families, politicians, local shops, and more, to take serious and urgent action against the climate and biodiversity crisis. I want to spend the rest of this session discussing what it means to be a leader and how we can act as leaders to tackle the climate and biodiversity crisis by making individual and system-wide changes. Individual changes are things you and me can do in our daily lives to contribute less to the climate crisis. System changes are larger changes in areas such as law, government policy, economic systems, and even things like the subjects and curriculum that you are taught at school. I want to start off by saying that you don't need to know everything about the climate and biodiversity crisis to be a leader. You just need to want to help people and nature from these challenges. Anyone can be a leader, because anyone can develop leadership skills. You don't need to be famous or have a lot of money or power. So what is a leader? A leader is someone who does the right thing and inspires people around them to also do the right thing. A leader makes people feel confident that they can contribute to change. Many people say that leaders try to make life better for people. So what are some specific qualities that would make a good climate leader? I think that climate leaders will need to have various different skills, including empathy. We need empathy to understand that the climate and biodiversity crisis affects people differently, some worse than others. There are some people experiencing the impacts of the crisis right now, and even if we don't experience these impacts, we need to be empathetic to those people who do and try and help them as much as possible. Climate leaders need listening skills. The climate and biodiversity crisis is the biggest challenge the world is facing, and many people are experiencing the crisis differently. Some people are afraid, others don't care. Some people are worried they will lose their jobs in the changes taking place, or that they may lose their homes to flooding. Others are worried, perhaps, that they won't be able to get to safety in flood because they are in a wheelchair. Leaders listen to other people. They make sure they hear everyone's concerns, needs, and priorities, and try and support as many people as possible. Leaders also need to have good critical thinking skills. Critical thinking means considering evidence, facts, different people's perspectives, and all sorts of things before you make a decision or form an opinion. Leaders question everything. The climate and biodiversity crisis is caused by human activity that is bad for the planet, like using fossil fuels for energy and cutting down rainforests to raise cows for beef. It is important to question why we keep doing these things. Who does it benefit? What would our world look like if we stopped doing these things? And how can we live more sustainably? Leaders need to be brave. A good leader is brave enough to imagine a better world. Sometimes people don't want to go through the effort of making a change because they are afraid of that change or how their lives may be when that change happens. Leaders are brave enough to imagine a better world than the one we have now, with a healthy planet and healthy, fairer societies where all people are able to thrive and be happy. Leaders are also brave enough to stand up and ask important questions and look for answers, to really get out there and talk to people. Self-care. Leaders need to know how to take a break, rest, relax, and ensure they are feeling well emotionally and physically. How can we protect the planet's health if we're not healthy ourselves? We can't work to help communities across the world be healthier and happier if we're not feeling great. Taking care of our emotional and physical health is different for everyone. For some people, it may be being outside in nature. For others, it may be sitting inside and eating chocolate while watching their favorite television show. Whatever it is, make sure you take some time out for yourself. And lastly, good leaders need to have great collaboration skills. We're all in this together. A good leader works with others to achieve a goal. No one person has all the answers to the climate and biodiversity crises. When we collaborate and unite, we bring together many different skill sets, interests, and values, which means our work can be more impactful. This leads me to an important point. Oftentimes, we think of leadership as a solitary activity, but that's not true. Leadership can absolutely be a collective pursuit. So talk to your friends and work on being leaders together. Let's talk about the 4 ways we can use our leadership skills to start tackling the climate and biodiversity crisis. The first thing we can do is speak out about the impacts of the climate and biodiversity crisis and the importance of acting now. Tell everyone you know. You'd be surprised by how many people are unaware of the impacts of the climate and biodiversity crisis. Make sure to listen to people, their concerns, their questions, and remain empathetic about the challenges they may be facing. Talk to your neighbors, family, and teachers. Write to your local newspaper, post flyers. There are many ways to communicate with others about what is going on. You can green your school. Your school can be a powerful center for climate action. At your school, you can try and work with teachers, teaching assistants, and other staff to make changes in many different areas. For example, you can work with your teachers to talk about sustainability and the climate crisis in every subject and see how it's relevant. You can work with catering staff at your school to try and limit food waste or to encourage local and seasonal foods to be served. You can work with your head teacher to make sure all events and activities are as sustainable as possible. You can show leadership by setting up or joining a climate or environmental club in your school to encourage your friends, parents, and teachers to put climate action into practice. You can ask your school to take part in the Eco Schools Green Flag accreditation, which supports your school to reduce energy and water usage, reduce carbon emissions in school journeys, and improve biodiversity. The program celebrates your achievements by awarding you a Green Flag accreditation. By showcasing what you can do at school, you can persuade others to act. The third thing we can do is hold governments, businesses, and people with power accountable. Holding someone accountable means asking them to explain why they are doing what they are doing and how they have put their promises, commitments, and legal obligations into practice. Governments should be acting quickly to make sure we no longer need to do things such as use fossil fuels to heat our homes or to travel, and to provide information and education for everyone in the UK to understand the crisis we are facing. One way we can check in on the government is by writing to our members of Parliament, members of Scottish Parliament, or members of the Welsh Senedd. These politicians represent the area we live in the UK-wide Parliament and in Scotland and Wales. They speak on our behalf to contribute to laws and decisions that can affect the health of our planet and of our societies. Writing to politicians ensures our voices can be heard in decision-making. There are many resources to learn how to write to politicians, including an activity as part of this workshop. Writing to politicians involves using our critical thinking skills, bravery, and our collaboration skills to be able to work with them to make change. When you write to members of Parliament, you can invite them to come to your school so that you, your friends, and teachers can ask questions and learn more about their plans to tackle the climate crisis. Although you must be a certain age to vote, all of us can vote with our wallets for a fair climate future every time we go to the shops or buy something online. You can ask the supermarket where you buy your lunch, for example, what they are doing to ensure that the food in your sandwich has been produced sustainably and without adding to harmful carbon emissions. Many businesses are making promises about what they will do to protect the environment. This sort of action can help hold them accountable. And lastly, we can think about green jobs. What it means to be a climate leader may change as you get older. When you are an adult, there will still be many ways you can work to ensure a healthy planet and happy communities. One way is through your job. You may have heard the term green jobs. Green jobs often refer to jobs that directly work to protect the planet and nature from the climate and biodiversity crisis in industries like renewable energy and forest management. However, any job can be a green job if it in any way helps to protect people and planet. For example, being a teacher can be a green job if you teach your pupils about how to take care of planet Earth. Working as a social worker or a carer or a nurse can be a green job if you're supporting people to take care of their well-being so that they can tackle the climate crisis. Think about what you want to be when you leave school. How can you turn this into a green job to ensure that through what you're doing, you're protecting people and planet? The climate and biodiversity crisis is a big challenge, but I feel hopeful that together we can develop and use our leadership skills to make an enormous difference. There's no better time than today. So let's get out there and let's all be climate leaders.